Sometimes, a single mistake is all it takes to turn a massive project into a disaster, causing billions of dollars in losses and even changing the course of history. In this video, we'll explore 4 real-life disasters that were triggered by human and engineering mistakes. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Fact Horizon and turn on notifications. In 1999, NASA made one of the strangest mistakes in the history of space exploration. The Mars Climate Orbiter was on a mission to Mars to study the planet's atmosphere. The spacecraft was worth more than $327 million, including $125 million for the spacecraft itself. However, after months of traveling through space, the spacecraft was lost when it reached Mars due to a very simple error. One engineering team used English units of measurement, while another team used the metric system, causing incorrect calculations in the spacecraft's trajectory. Because of this small difference, the spacecraft approached Mars at the wrong angle and ended up burning up in the planet's atmosphere instead of successfully entering orbit. This mistake became a harsh lesson for NASA, proving that even the smallest details can lead to the loss of hundreds of millions of dollars. It was not the most expensive financial loss in history, but it remains one of the costliest failures ever caused by a simple mistake. On June 4, 1996, Europe launched the Ariane 5 rocket on its first flight, after years of development and a project cost exceeding $7 billion. The value of the rocket and the payload destroyed in that mission was estimated at around $370 million. However, just 37 seconds after liftoff, the rocket began to deviate from its intended trajectory before exploding in the sky in front of the engineers who were watching the launch. The cause was not a mechanical failure or an engine malfunction, but a simple software error. One of the computer systems attempted to convert a large number into a smaller data type that could not handle the value, causing the guidance system to fail completely. Within moments, this programming mistake turned a promising space mission into one of the most famous and expensive technological disasters in the history of space exploration. It is a story that proves that just a few lines of code can be enough to cause the loss of hundreds of millions of dollars. On April 20, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico became the site of one of the largest industrial disasters in history. The rig was drilling one of the world's deepest offshore oil wells when a series of human errors and poor decisions led to a loss of well control, allowing massive amounts of oil and natural gas to escape under extreme pressure. Moments later, a devastating explosion engulfed the entire platform in flames, killing 11 workers. 2 days later, the rig sank into the sea. But the real disaster was only beginning. Oil continued to gush into the Gulf of Mexico for 87 days, causing one of the worst environmental catastrophes in history. Between cleanup operations, compensation payments, legal settlements, fines, and restoration efforts, the total cost exceeded $65 billion, making the Deepwater Horizon disaster one of the most expensive human mistakes in modern history. On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine witnessed one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. During a safety test inside reactor number 4, operators made a series of operational mistakes, combined with design flaws in the reactor itself, causing the nuclear reaction to become uncontrollable. Within seconds, Two massive explosions destroyed the reactor core, releasing enormous amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere and contaminating vast areas across several European countries. More than 350,000 people were eventually forced to evacuate their homes, while containment and cleanup efforts continued for decades at an enormous cost, including decontamination, the construction of a protective structure over the reactor, compensation payments, and healthcare expenses. The economic losses caused by this disaster are estimated to have exceeded $200 billion, making the Chernobyl disaster one of the most expensive human-made catastrophes in history.